Hey guys, Sean here and welcome to the F1 Word. Now yesterday McLaren unveiled a very special one-off livery for this weekend's Monaco Grand Prix as part of their partnership with Gulf. It is a livery which will see the iconic Gulf light blue and orange colour scheme return to the sport. It looks gorgeous, by the way. But of course, one-off liveries aren't exactly a new thing when it comes to F1, with many teams mixing it up over the years for various reasons. So here are just 9 examples that I've picked out of one-off F1 liveries to feature in an official session over the course of a Grand Prix weekend. No testing liveries will be included. Sorry, Red Bull. McLaren have been here before, not with Gulf, but with one of its former tobacco sponsors. At the 1986 Portuguese Grand Prix, Keke Rosberg ran a tweaked version of the team's now iconic livery, with the famous red and white making way for yellow and white. Yeah, a yellow McLaren. Why, you might ask? Well, it was quite simply used to promote Philip Morris's Marlboro Lights brand. The yellow colour was only used during the race and only on Rosberg's car, with his teammate Alain Prost sticking with the usual red and white livery. Rosberg would go on to retire from the race though with an electrical problem, with Prost finishing second to Nigel Mansell. Clearly then, if you're of the superstitious nature, red and white was always the right way to go. That is a joke. I'm fully aware liveries don't make cars go faster, apart from obviously the go faster stripe. For the 2001 Italian Grand Prix at Monza, a race which was held just 5 days after the 9/11 attacks on the USA, Ferrari made changes to its livery as a mark of respect to those who had been injured and to those who had tragically lost their lives. The team removed all sponsors from the car and ran with a predominantly plain red paint job, but with the car also bearing a black nose section. Other teams did pay their respects too, but by far it was the Ferrari that looked the most obvious. Rubens Barrichello and Michael Schumacher went on to finish 2nd and 4th respectively on Sunday on what was, in Ferrari's words at the time, a purely sporting event with no commercial implications, nor will it be a joyful event. In 1999, BAR launched their cars with 2 different liveries with the intention of running them for the season. However, the FIA stepped in and made it clear that the team must run 2 cars with predominantly the same livery. So we ended up with a mix of the 2 divided by that famous zip. However, the launch wasn't the only time we got a look at what might have been. During practice for the 2004 Chinese Grand Prix, Anthony Davidson was out on track for BAR in the blue and yellow livery synonymous with the team sponsor 555. And I've got to say it looked fantastic. Oh, how I wish they'd gone with the 555 livery for the rest of the season. Actually, scrap that. Oh, how I wish they'd gone with the livery from the very start back in 1999. Despite how good it looked though, and probably somewhat unsurprisingly, the team returned to its normal 2004 livery for the rest of the weekend. But that wasn't the only time the team tried something different. Later that very same year, BAR sent Davidson out on track again during practice with another new look. This time, the car was covered in a graffiti-style livery which actually featured Davidson's face on the engine cover, as you do. The team also ran another different livery in Italy later that year, with what I suppose you could call an X-ray of Davidson's seating position on the side of the car. Again though, like their previous one-off liveries, we wouldn't see it again that year, or indeed again in the future. Which I suppose is what you'd kind of expect from a one-off livery. Good one, Sean. Whilst there won't be any testing liveries featured in this video, Red Bull do still make a couple of appearances. At the 2005 Monaco Grand Prix, the Force was with the team, I'm so sorry, as it slapped Star Wars branding all over the car in celebration of the launch of the movie Revenge of the Sith. It wasn't just the car though, as Darth Vader, Chewbacca and others made appearances, and even the pit crew were dressed to fit the theme. Okay, I will admit the car does look very similar to the team's traditional livery, but it's different enough for me to include it in this video, and it has nothing whatsoever to do with the fact I'm a big Star Wars fan and seeing the sport I love collide with it was incredible, honest. That wasn't the first or even the last time Red Bull would give their cars a different or tweaked paint job for a race weekend. From Superman to James Bond, we've seen all sorts. But at 2008 at Interlagos, the team was at it again, however, for very different reasons. David Coulthard lined up on the grid in a white liveried Red Bull with a few accents of the usual look to promote and support the brand's Wings for Life charity. Absolutely a great cause, but that doesn't mean the livery was great, because quite frankly it wasn't. And neither was Coulthard's race, to be fair, as he crashed out on the opening lap in what was his final ever F1 start. Mercedes went back in time at the 2019 German Grand Prix to celebrate Mercedes-Benz 125th year in motorsport, as well as their 200th F1 start. It wasn't radically different to their usual silver arrow scheme at the back, but the front looked very different, painted in white, with heritage branding across parts of the car. The idea behind the design was to make it look as though the paint was being peeled away to reveal the original livery the cars ran in, almost the reverse of how the Silver Arrows livery originally came about, after the white paint was allegedly scraped off in 1934 so the car would meet the weight limit regulations. Team personnel also dressed up for the event on a weekend that went brilliantly for the team with another dominant 1-2 finish. Actually, no, sorry, it was of course a complete disaster for them on Sunday, wasn't it? Now, for those who have worked out that this is in chronological order, you probably already know what the last one on the list will be, but before we get there, this one is well worth an honourable mention. And before you say it, yes, I know this isn't technically a one-off livery because it was used at 2 races, but again, it is well worth a mention. At the US and Mexican Grand Prix of 1964, Ferrari ditched the red and went with a blue livery for the event. Yes, a blue Ferrari. It wasn't for sponsors or some sort of anniversary, though. It was instead done in protest following disagreements between Ferrari and Italy's motorsport body, the ACI, around the homologation of a new mid-engine Ferrari racer. Long story short, the 250 LM was ready to race, but the FIA refused to homologate it, and the ACI also failed to back it. Enzo Ferrari was reportedly livid at the time, handing in his competitor's license and swore never to race in the famous Rosso Corsa colour again, switching to blue and white for the next Grand Prix, and even raced under the North American Racing Team banner, which was basically a Ferrari satellite operation. The cars were the same, it was just the name and the livery that had changed, so it was business as usual for John Surtees and Lorenzo Bandini. That is the very short version. There is so much more to this story, and maybe I'll come back to it one day, but if you would like a proper in-depth read of what happened, there is a link to a really good F1 article in the description down below that is well worth a read if you've got some spare time. And finally, sticking with Ferrari, they celebrated their 1000th Grand Prix at Mugello in 2020 with a special one-off livery. The SF1000 was stripped of the red we'd seen all season to that point, instead sporting a burgundy colour, the new scheme being a reproduction of the shade of red used at the Monaco Grand Prix in 1950, of course the team's first ever F1 World Championship Grand Prix. It looked great out on track, even if the result at the team's home race was far from great itself in what was a very disappointing season. But that wasn't to be the last time we'd see the burgundy appear on the Ferrari, as the 2021 car features a small amount towards the rear, which according to someone in my comment section earlier this year makes the car look as though it's been dipped in barbecue sauce. Thank you so much for that. There we have it then. They are just 9, or I suppose if you include that X-Ray BAR, 10 examples of times teams have run special one-off liveries, and have been so many more throughout F1 history. So aside from those I've picked out, which one-off looks from the past would you add to this list? You can, as always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Now, I will be back later this week with some more content, of course, Monaco Grand Prix weekend. But in the meantime, if you did enjoy this video, then please do leave a like, as it really helps out the channel. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean, this has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.